Hello readers, it's Sasha, and today I am going to be doing the Positions book tag that was created by my really good friend here on BookTube, Rachel from Let Me in the Library. So if you're unfamiliar with Rachel's tag, I definitely will link it in the description below because it is fantastic. The original version is 10 out of 10, like you cannot top it, but I thought I would try to do my very best to top it. I'm not the biggest fan of Ariana Grande, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't know. She just, I don't know. There's just something about her that I don't love as much, but I like her music. Like, her music is really good. As a person, I'm not a big fan, but her music is very good. So I didn't listen to this album prior to Rachel's tag because I didn't care. But then I was like, oh, this is the tag. So I listened to it and it's actually really good. So I decided to do it because I feel like it's authentic to who I am, kind of. So I really love the prompts that Rachel created. I thought they were really original and they weren't just like the standard book tag questions. Like, they were actually really good. So without further ado, let's just hop into the tag video. So the first tag, aka the first song, is Shut Up. For this, it is a book you couldn't shut up about. There are a couple books on this channel that I have not been able to stop talking about, in good and bad ways. I think any one of my subscribers who is a regular and watches my channel a lot could name a few books that I have hated that I couldn't stop talking about, or that I loved. But I decided to go with love because positivity is key. So, The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed. I adored this book. When I read it the first time, I just was shook to my very core about how amazing and how incredible what are words, and how fantastic this book was, because it was all about these three girls who came from vastly different backgrounds, and they started this club called the Nowhere Girls where they started taking down the misogynistic ideas in their school. Like, queen shit, we love to see it. So I loved it, and I thought it was really well done. There was a lot of representation within this book. I feel like there's a little bit of everything for everybody, and it didn't seem overdone, or it didn't seem done just to do. Like, it seemed like it was perfectly placed within this story. So yes, when I read it in September, I literally could not stop talking about it all September, and the couple videos I did do in October, I feel like I could not stop talking about the Nowhere Girls. So that's what I'm going with. Next is 34 plus 35. A book you stayed up late to finish. So for this one, this is a bit of a controversial book because literally everyone hated this, but The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I stayed up so late to finish this. A, because I was doing it for a reading vlog, so I wanted to finish it. And B is because I was so invested in what was going on with Coriolanus and Lucy Gray. I was so invested. I was literally I wanted to know what was happening at all times. So I stayed up to read it. It was a chonky book, but I could not stop reading it. I could not put it down to go to sleep. So I was really excited about it. Everyone hated this book. I loved it so much. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was beyond belief. We love to see the Hunger Games just kicking butt and taking names, you know. We love to see it. Okay, next is Motive. A book that left you questioning everything. For this, I decided to interpret the prompt probably a little bit differently, than Rachel maybe wanted it, but that's okay. You know, we're all here just trying to vibe in quarantine. You gotta do what you need, you know? So, I picked this book because it left me questioning why everybody loved it so much. And that is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This book confused me because after reading, this is a really large book. After reading the Dark Artifices trilogy, I was blown away by her growth in writing, her development. I was shook. I thought it was such a good story. I thought it can only get better from here. So when Chain of Gold came out, I was like, okay, I have to buy this. I have to get it hard copy. I have to read it as soon as it comes out. I was so excited. And I read it And I was like, why does everybody love this so much? Like, I did give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like, it wasn't a bad book, but I feel like the writing style just like reverted back to where it was like when she first started writing the Mortal Instruments series, and I was just really unimpressed. So this left me questioning everything. So that's why it goes with this song. Next is Just Like Magic. A book with all your favorite tropes. So for this, I've decided to go with Bonecryer's Moon by Catherine Purdy. I just really love this edition, first of all, so I like to show it off whenever I can. But I really love this book because enemies to lovers isn't my like favorite trope, but I really like siren-esque stories. So anything with like that siren-y element, I'm always going to love. And then I also really love forbidden romance. You know, we love to see that just on the daily. This book also has a really powerful friendship, and I really love that in tropes as well. And evil matriarch, we love to see it. So it's chocked full of things that I think are tropes that I really loved. So yeah. Next is Off the Table. A book that raised your standards. So for this one, I had to go with Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. This book is huge. It literally hurt reading it, first of all. It's 870 pages, like ripped to my eyes. I loved this book. Like, I read this 870-page book in a matter of like 3 days because I was so invested. I thought the writing was so beautiful. The characterization was fantastic. Even though most of the characters in Cassandra Clare's books are like carbon copies of her original series, that's okay because I like the original copies, so we love to see it. And also, I just thought the plot and the setting of the story, like I thought it was all really clever. So for me, this just raised the standard of what I expected from Cassandra Clare moving forward. And I think that's why I was let down so heavily by Chain of Gold, because this was one of my favorite books of the year. Like, I loved it so much. Next is 630. A problematic book that you loved anyway. And honestly, like, I really could not think of any that I like. I don't know, man. Like, y'all are probably shaking your head right now being like, Sasha, you idiot. Like, you like this one. This is super problematic. I can't, like, I couldn't think of anything that I liked. So, sorry. Safety Net. A book that you immediately knew was 5 stars. So for this one, I had to go with Don't Look Back by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This book has been read. Like, it is so worn. I've given it to everybody to read. Like, I loved this book so very much. I thought it was just, oh, Jennifer Armentrout kills me with her mysteries. Like, I always love her mystery books. I find them really good. So this is about a girl who wakes up with amnesia. She doesn't remember what happened. She finds out that she actually went missing for a couple days with her best friend, and she came back, but her best friend didn't. So while she's trying to regain her memory, she's trying to piece together what happened and also trying to piece together who she was as a person. So it's a really interesting story. I love a good amnesia moment. I mean, like, in books, like not in real life, obviously. Halfway through the book, they mentioned something about cheese and how much they like cheese, and I was like, literally, like, we've peaked. Like, literature cannot grow from here. Next is My Hair. A well-known author's work who you want to try but you haven't yet. So for this one, I've chosen Sabaa Tahir because I'm really interested in the Ember and the Ashes series that has been sweeping the nation. So many of my friends here on BookTube absolutely love it. I did just buy the first 3 books in the series because they were on Kindle for, I think it was $1.99 each. So I was like, yes. So I bought them, and I really want to get into the series because I've heard so many good things about it, and the people who I know who love it, like, I trust their opinions when it comes to books. Like, Darian and I don't have the same opinions on a lot of books.
The next book I read in September was another 5-star read, Secret History by Donna Tartt. I absolutely loved this book. It was so good.
But I still trust her opinion. Like, if she said it was a good book, I trust that it's going to be a good book, even if it's not necessarily my cup of tea. So I definitely do want to get into the Ember and the Ashes trilogy. Not trilogy, because there's a 4th book coming out, but I really do want to get into it. So hopefully within 2021, I'll be able to read that series. That's kind of like a goal of mine. Next is Nasty. A new release you cannot wait to get to. So for this one, I've chosen Who I Was With Her by Nita Tyndall. This came out, I believe, in like October, I think it was, and I have not gotten the chance to read it yet. I haven't purchased it. I haven't really like done anything, but this book sounds so interesting, and it's sapphic. It seems like such a great book. I don't know, like I don't even really know the synopsis of it that much. So next is West Side. So this is your favorite series. And so this is a really difficult question for me to answer because I love series so much. I have so many favorites from back when I was younger. I really haven't read too many series like as of 2020. Like I didn't read a lot of series minus like the Cassandra Clare series, but I have a favorite series that has been like kind of consistent for me, and I started reading it when I first started university like 3 or 4 years ago. So that series is Frontlines by Michael Grant. This series is very underhyped, very underrated. I learned that apparently Michael Grant is kind of problematic like after I bought the series and read it and loved it, but I don't think that really changes how I feel about the series because it was just so incredible. So before I like spiel, this is about World War II, but it's kind of like an alternate history where like women were enlisted to fight in the war on a regular basis, because I know there were some women that fought in the war in World War II, but it wasn't like a frequent occurrence. So this follows 3 women, Rio, Frangie, and Rainey. And those 3 women come from very different backgrounds. So Rainey is a Jewish woman in World War II, Frangie is a Black woman in World War II, and Rio is a white woman in World War II. So it explores their backgrounds a lot within the first story, and then it has them training, and it has them going to war, and it has some significant historical points like in the stories, like the Battle of Normandy. It was very like accurate. Like you could tell he researched a lot when he did this book and this whole series, because it was really accurate to all of the things that I've learned about World War II. I really like when young adult authors kind of take a new twist on history, and this didn't disappoint me. I fell in love with this series. I loved his series, the Gone series, when I was in junior high, and so I picked this up on a whim because I was like, okay, he was really good before, so he's probably really good now, and I was not disappointed. I was so absolutely blown away. So if you haven't read this book, I know it's a very like underhyped series, but I definitely recommend like trying to get it. Maybe not purchasing it because I've heard he's like problematic now, but like if you can get it from your library or like from a secondhand bookstore, do it because it's so worth it. It's such a good series. I love it. Anyway, that's that, because I could just talk forever. The next is Love Language. A book that you keep returning to for comfort. So for this, I don't actually really have comfort books. There aren't really any books that I will read to like get me through a tough time or something. Like I'm not really that type of reader. So again, I couldn't really think of anything for this one. Positions. A book that subverted a cliche. So for this one, I chose The Last True Poets of the Sea by Julia Drake. This is a book that is set in a small town. It's sapphic, there is mental health rep, and it just definitely had the potential to be very cliched with how the mental health was represented, how the small town stereotypes were portrayed, but it didn't really do any of that. It was fantastic. Like the way the small town vibes were exactly what I would think of when I think of a small town, as opposed to like not everybody knows each other, but like it's just a community of supporting people even when they don't know each other. Like it's kind. Like it was a good book. The mental health representation was really well done in my personal opinion. I really enjoyed that aspect, and I really liked the sapphic relationship that came up. That could have been cliched as well, because there was a guy who liked a girl, but that girl didn't like him. He liked her, and that was like, that's cliche, but like the way it was done and the way that they all formed their own relationship afterward, their own friendships, was really good, and I thought it really subverted what I was expecting to be kind of a cliched novel, so I really liked that. Next is Obvious. A book you loved from a genre you don't normally read. So I have chosen Goddess in the Machine by Laura Beth Johnson. I loved this book. I don't normally like sci-fi. Like for me, sci-fi is very, very hit or miss, but this was a book that I really loved. Like, all of the plot twists were like mind-blowing to me and my small brain cells. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was really well done, a really top-notch story, and I cannot wait for the second one. I know a lot of people had issues because Laura Beth Johnson did take a twist on English and kind of made it in a way that she thought it would evolve for, I believe it was like in 1,000 years. So there were some parts that were kind of hard to get through, kind of frustrating to get through. But once you move past that, this is definitely one of my favorite sci-fi books of my life because I've read like 4. But I really enjoyed this book and I think this fits the prompt. So yes, finally the last one is POV. A book that you'd love to see written from someone else's perspective. So this one I feel like was super obvious for me. Oh my god. Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan. I would love to see this in the perspective of Ren. So this is about 2 girls who are chosen to be king's concubines, and they just have to like do whatever the king wants them to do and like sleep with him whenever they want and stuff. And Lei, which is the girl whose perspective we are in, falls in love with another one of the concubines, and it's great. And Ren is that concubine, and they are just such an incredible couple, and I would die to have this written in her perspective because she's a badass bitch and she knows when to do what needs to be done in order for her to sneak under the radar to get to a better place for herself in the future. You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of like female characters I find that just like, they're like overcompensating the fact that they're female and they're just like, like I can do whatever I want. And it's just like, no, you can't. Like, you actually have to think of consequences, because as a woman, your consequences are probably going to be more severe than a man because people underestimate you and all this stuff. So it was nice to see Ren be like, okay, this is what needs to be done right now, but this is going to help me get to where I want to be in the future. So I really liked that, and I think this book would be equally as fun and equally as good in Ren's perspective. If not, maybe a little better because I like her better than Lei. So that is it. Those are the songs off of the Positions album. So those are all the prompts. And thank you again, Rachel, for creating this tag. I thought it was super fun. I don't know who she's tagged because I know she tagged 1.5 million people, but I'm just gonna tag Ginger Snap Reads, Darian Reads, and whoever else wants to watch this. Yeah, so yes, that is it. Okay, thank you for tuning into this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. I do post twice a week. I might be changing my posting schedule just to align better with my schooling and work, but I don't know yet, so we'll see. But yeah, until next time, bye readers!